Good morning, gardening friends. Time for another update. It's Thursday, I believe it's February 13th. I'll check that in a minute, or you'll see it on the bottom of the screen there. This tree is a source of woe for us. It's a beautiful tree. It grows well. It doesn't give us trouble, but ultimately it does take a lot of work to keep it trimmed back, and yesterday was the big effort to try and get it scaled way back. I still need to get some off the top, but ultimately I cut a lot of it out yesterday, and it is now filling the green can. Let me see if I can actually... There's not much room left in there. I cut it down to little pieces and just kept stuffing it until I couldn't stuff anymore, and that was pretty much the time to quit for that. I can still see some areas that I need to clean up in that tree, but that's done for now. I'll come back to that maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. I'm going to end up borrowing a neighbor's can so we can fit more, because all our overflow cans are also full. Not from this, but from previous efforts cleaning up the yard. I still have all the weeds to pull down here too. So that's kind of where we are on that. But the development today is that I've emptied this out because, to quote a famous movie, I have a need, or to paraphrase, I have a need for, okay, the reveal's not working as well as I'd like, a need for seeds. So my new seeds have arrived. Again, Seeds and Such, not an endorsement per se, or not a paid ad, but I just like these guys, and so I have more now of the sample pack with the tomato and the basil. I'm going to put those aside. I may give them to somebody. Let's see what we got this time. So this one is the hybrid pepper Nikita. This is basically a bell pepper, but it's a large bell pepper, and it's a varied color. It's, if I remember right, kind of a greenish yellow, or like green and yellow at the same time, so that should be interesting. Large fruits. I'm not a huge fan of bell pepper myself, but my niece is and my dad is, so figure if I'm going to grow a bunch of stuff in the garden, it'll make people happier seeing the garden if they know that there's something they might be able to sample. So it's not all about me. Let's see what else we've got here. We've got, the chili. This is interesting. This is a, it looks more like a decorative plant, and it has little 2-inch peppers that kind of stick upwards instead of hanging downwards. Kind of like this succulent here, but in reds and greens and a little bit of yellows. So it'd be interesting, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wood boxes I have and repurpose them and put them up along kind of in front, so there'd be a pop of color up along the edge of the wall here. More on the wall itself in a minute. Let's see what else we've got. The hybrid, I'm trying to read it through the phone, that's not working. Hybrid pepper cherry pick. So these basically look like cherry tomatoes, but they're actually peppers with a little bit of heat. So those are going to go into a pot along with the bell peppers that I mentioned. And last but not least, oh, wait a minute. That was Nikita. There's the cherry. There's the chili. What am I missing? I think one of them didn't come out of the package. Or, no, one of them's hiding. Sorry about that. Okay, let's run through that again. Nikita. We've got chili. Yeah, there's the problem. The cherry pick was kind of gripping onto the last one. So, the last one is hybrid pepper giant Marconi. Years ago, if you go back and look, you probably have to search around for it, or if I can find it, I'll put a link here. I grew some Marconi peppers. They were smaller Marconi peppers, and while I'm not really a fan of sweet peppers, I did like those Marconis. They were pretty good. It was just something that looked interesting and I wanted to grow, and then when I tasted it, it tasted really good. So maybe it's the standard sort of bell peppers just are not to my taste. but something grown in a garden. Maybe it was sweeter, maybe it was a little spicier, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to try growing these and we'll see if I like them. It'll be a couple of months before I get to telling you whether or not I like them, but that's the plan. Now I'm going to start getting the pots out and filling them up with soil and putting the seeds in and laying it all out. Okay, well, I'd say that looks a little bit better. Now we've got, it's a little more presentable. See if I can get more of a full picture there. And that's what we're going to see from the window. That's going to look nicer, and once it starts to actually fill in with plants, it'll be even better. So I did all of this, and then I remembered, oh, it's right. I wonder, you know, if a companion plant would help along here, as I mentioned that before with the previous seeds. And so I went back to Wikipedia and looked up the list, and it turns out that mints, which includes basil, interestingly, help peppers. So that's not the only thing. Also, tomatoes help peppers, but I didn't really want to mix the tomatoes and the peppers, especially with the cherry pick pepper, because then somebody might think it's a tomato and grab one and eat it and expect it to taste like a tomato and get a shot of heat. So I decided to go look at my seed supply and figure out what I have left for basil. I did get the free sample pack that included a basil, but if I'm going to give that away to somebody, maybe just give it to my sister-in-law, because she keeps asking about planting stuff and gardening in general. So I went and I looked, and what I found was, this is the one I kept calling the chocolate basil. It's actually called dark opal purple. It's really old, and there's one seed left in there. But it turns out that sample pack that I got with the last batch of seeds, it has 50 seeds in it. So there's some left of the basil Newton, or the Newton basil, whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in and, you know, consider them a companion plant, and we'll see what this all ends up turning into. I did look it up, and on the back of the packet it seems to indicate that it's going to be 15 to 30 days before it germinates. So it'll be the end of February before we see anything germinating. Maybe the basil will germinate first, but we'll see. So I think that's pretty much it for this. I've got a little other cleanup stuff I'm going to do. I got to clean up. I've kind of made a mess down on the ground now, but I'll get that handled. And I think that's it for today's update. So this is the Budget Gardener signing off, saying may your thumb be green.